Thank you very much, and good morning, everybody. It is my great pleasure to present to you Sanoma as an investment today. At Sanoma, we have developed over the years now to a very innovative and agile learning and media company. And I would like to bring that to life to you a bit more today, and also showing how we impact the lives of millions of people every day. And we basically have two distinct parts to our business. The biggest part is our leading European K-12 learning business. So that really goes to the heart of foundational education in primary, secondary, and vocational. So really the core years of learning. And there we support teachers and students across Europe. So if you would step into a classroom in our countries in Europe, you would really see the teachers and students work with our materials, both print and digital, and increasingly also personalized learning solutions for the teacher and the students. The second part is our number one digital cross-media position here in Finland, where we have high-quality journalism and, of course, also our radio, TV, and events. So really all that focused on reaching 96% of all Finns every week. So in numbers, that actually looks like this. So 57% last year of our revenue came from learning, but actually 76% of our profit came from learning. And that pretty much has doubled over the past 5 to 7 years. And we now reach 25 million students and their teachers in leading positions in our markets every year. And those markets in K-12 are really stable and resilient. There can be a lot going on if you think about geopolitical, but the investment in education has proven to be very, very stable and resilient over years in all the markets we operate in. And you do really need to have high quality content and solutions to operate there. So there is high barriers to entry from that perspective as well. If you look at it from the media side, there we have those leading brands that I mentioned earlier. And one data point there is also that we have really moved to in that digital transformation, where you, for example, see that we have 900,000 subscriptions with a paid-for digital component. And that's out of 2.7 million households here in Finland. And the other one is that if you purely look at print advertising, that of course has become a much smaller, less than 10% part of our business, because we are doing that successful digital transformation. We also really have focused over the last few years on further improving on our financial metrics as a group. And I would like to zoom in on that a little bit further. What we said when we did a Capital Markets Day about 2 years ago is that there are 3 key focus areas for us in that sort of mid and long term. So increasing the profitability, both in learning and media, improving the cash flow, and as a result of that, strengthening the balance sheet. And as you can see here, we've really made good and continued progress towards that, with increasing margins and profit in both learning and media, with a lot more to come, particularly in learning from 26 onwards. We've seen a big improvement in cash flow, and we expect that to continue also this year and beyond. And as a result of that, our leverage as a key indicator is now comfortably and significantly below our long-term target. Let me now zoom in on the 2 businesses, starting with our biggest business, which is learning. And as I highlighted, we really are focused on K-12, so those foundational years with that 25 million students. The market across Europe is still very fragmented, so we see a lot of opportunities in years to come to further consolidate the market. We've done steps in that direction, but there is a lot more to be done there. And the teachers and the schools are really our primary customers. Coming back to the fact, if you step into the classroom, it's the teachers that we really support in their day-to-day work with the students. And the more efficient we can make them, the more time they have to spend with the kids to improve their learning outcomes. And that content and the digital solutions is very sticky. On average, they only change their materials every 4 to 8 years. And I'll come back to that if you think about growth opportunities as well. Overall, it's just a small part of the budget for schools. So from that point of view, it's also well protected. If you look at the learning solutions we deliver, that really is the combination of print and digital. And we call that blended, and I will touch on that in a minute a little bit more. And coming back to the impact we try to have on society, our content, together with, of course, all the hard work that the teachers put in, really makes it that we have a positive impact on the learning outcomes of all these kids across Europe. And that includes things like inclusive learning, special education needs, and those kind of elements that really support diversity and differentiation. Let me now zoom in a bit on what we mean with the blended learning solutions. So, of course, pretty much everywhere now, at the very minimum, there is the book in printed format and also a digital version. But by far the most common is what you see here in the middle, which is the combination of print and digital, but also additional exercises, additional platforms, and also some early steps in supporting the teacher, if you think about dashboarding and seeing what's going on in the classroom. But really the way this is, of course, going is this full combination of print and digital with a lot more personalized learning tools and solutions. And I'll touch in a minute also on what AI can do there to further strengthen it. So that's what we call the blended learning solutions. And per market, per school sometimes, of course, it can be different what that looks like, depending on the digital kind of capabilities and also depending on what the preferences are of the school and the teachers. I mentioned that it's really sticky content and our position is very strong in this learning market. What we also see, if you think about it from an investment point of view, that the next 2 to 4 years, we will see strong growth of our biggest market within that, which is the publishing market of the content and the digital solutions. And that's what you see reflected here on the right-hand side. So that's about 79% of our net sales, and we see real growth there in the coming years as a result of what you could call curriculum refresh, or new content, therefore new solutions we can bring to market, and increasingly also more on the blended learning. Let me now talk a bit about our media business, of course, the second big and important part of our organization. There, we have seen a successful transformation towards more digital, and that continues. And if anything, that goes even faster every year. We see it happening. And we have, on the one hand, the high-quality journalism, the news and features element of our business. As you can see here, about 2/3 of our total business. And that is very significantly, of course, paid in a subscription way, but also with the ad-funded journalism at Hilti Sanomat. The other part is entertainment, so TV, radio, and increasingly there, the growth of our subscription business, particularly Ruutu+. So these are all strong standalone brands, but what we see increasingly, and we have been introducing, as you might have seen, examples of that, further combinations of these products. So combining it for our users so that they get the best value out of that. And we see more growth opportunity for that in years to come as well. Let me now zoom in on a topic that, of course, is very important around responsible use of artificial intelligence. And the way we look at it is that this is very important to always do with human oversight. So following ethical principles, really making sure that we do it in the right way, both in learning and in media. And the core themes are around product innovation, so new products to market, but also improvement in productivity. And just to give you a bit of a flavor of that, in learning, that is all about personalized learning solutions. So that's helping the teacher in a more personalized way, as you can see here, but also, and particularly, also making sure that the teachers get more tools to have personalized solutions for the kids in the classroom. And just one example that I highlight here is a speech coach, a very good way of improving pronunciation in a foreign language for the students. If you look at it on the media side, also the personalization there is definitely a key area. And you see all kind of different ways of bringing news, bringing content to our audience, with the news summaries, and in audio, of course, with nice things like a virtual DJ and things like that. So you will see a lot more going into that in years to come. But it's really good to see, but always with that element also here of human oversight. And then last but not least, it's around our internal improvement of work. So that's, of course, in our case, very important around content creation. How can we improve on that and be faster and cheaper on that while still maintaining high quality? And an example that I gave here on the learning side is, if you think about Spain, all kind of local languages, we used to spend a lot of time and money to get it from Spanish into those local languages. That now goes up to something like 80% more efficiently and quicker, while still, of course, focusing on making sure that it's high quality. Other element here is on the engineering side, so developing our digital solutions. And there, of course, things like GitHub Copilot and other tools really make our team more efficient. And again, that improves the outcomes, improves the solutions we can bring to market, and we can bring to market quicker and also at a lower cost. And then last but not least, across all our employees, you of course see the usage of Copilot, but also specific tools around HR, finance, etc., really helping efficiency and further improvement there. Always with that human oversight. From an investment point of view, I would like to also say a few words on our sustainability profile, which I think is a really unique one if you think about where we can make a difference in society. And we monitor that closely, as you can see here. So on learning, we do annual surveys with the teachers to make sure we really check whether or not what we offer meets their objectives and is therefore as supportive as it can be, clearly around inclusive learning and those kind of core themes. In media, I think more important than ever, around promoting independent journalism, freedom of expression, what else we can do there with our important role here in Finland. It's always top of mind. And of course, also internally, the further development of our teams, which ultimately are, of course, the basis and most important part of the success that we have at Sanoma. And we track that as well with the Employee Experience Index, which is at a really good and strong level. And last but not least, the reduction in emissions, of course, for ourselves, but most importantly, working with our suppliers to bring that down further in the whole value chain. So, unique profile with clear commitments, but also ambitious targets to further improve on that. I mentioned earlier that we've grown, particularly the learning business, a lot with M&A, and we aim to continue that. So the way we look at it is fairly straightforward, which is we will always focus on K-12. Can we improve our position, our growth profile, our return for our shareholders further by creating even more scale in K-12? So that can be in our current markets, adding to it like we have done. It can be going into new markets like we have done, and we think there are good opportunities further to continue to do that, but always with that focus on K-12. And it has to have a leading position, and clearly the market needs to have these characteristics that I highlighted earlier, including high barriers to entry. So that's with regard to M&A. Then to just round it off, if you look at it, we continue with that ambitious strategy for sustainable long-term growth. So that purpose we have through learning and media, we really have a positive impact on the lives of millions of people every day, and we want to continue to build on it. With a firm focus on increasing profitability and cash flow, we see a lot of growth happening in our market, particularly in learning from 26 onwards. And we think, if anything, that successful digital transformation in Media Finland will only go faster in years to come, and we are in a good position to also benefit from that. And then on top of it, the value creation M&A would really take the next step of growth in years to come. But with very firmly keeping in mind our solid performance on the financials, and that includes the leverage I mentioned, but it also includes, very importantly, our view on dividend, which is that 40 to 60% of the free cash flow, and that is very much something we are strongly committed to. Last point I would like to highlight is that we will be organizing a Capital Markets Day on the 25th of November, and there we'll go deeper into our growth path for 26-30. What is actually happening? Bring to life even more these examples that I highlighted just now, and how that links to our financial targets as well going forward. So, thank you, and let's now go to the questions.
Yeah, thank you for your presentation, Robert. Please join us here for the interview, please.
Thank you.
Welcome.
So, Sanoma's CEO, Rob Kolkman, your goal is to nearly double the learning business by 2030. How do you ensure you make successful acquisition without overpaying?
Yeah, I think that's a very important point. So we will only do these acquisitions if they are value creating. And of course, you don't see that, but we also say no to a lot of opportunities that come our way. But when we do see real opportunities, like we saw in Italy and in Spain, and also with some smaller ones, of course we act. And I think we are then in a really strong position to benefit from it with the synergies and therefore also return for shareholders.
So,
A quick note for now about the audience questions. So, kysymyksiä on tullut paljon ja luemme niitä sitten täällä aina sopivassa välissä. Pitäisikö mulla laittaa yksi kysymys tästä? There's a lot of questions about acquisitions here. In presentation you mentioned M&A, but can you specify what type of acquisition targets are of interest to Sanoma?
Yeah, so the focus is very firmly on K-12. So that is that
K-12,
role in primary, secondary vocational education. So if you look at our track record, that type of acquisitions we've done, we would like to continue to do that. We are focused on it, but to your earlier point, only if that really is, of course, value creating.
Another one, how about new countries, whole new countries?
If they, again, fit within the K-12 profile, then yes, that's one of the ways we have grown in the past. We would like to continue to do it. It needs to meet those characteristics also of the kind of educational system that in that country needs to meet where we would like to play.
All right.
yeah, you've made several large acquisitions, such as Santillana, Spain, and parts of Pearson. So, can you tell us more how have the integrations progressed, and how do you ensure real synergies across different countries and cultures?
Yeah, so we're in the fortunate position that we have done, as you say, quite a few integrations, both big and small. So we also have really developed a, let's say, a playbook to do these integrations properly and really benefit from the scale. So to bring that to life a bit, if you think about, of course, core things around printing and paper and those, there is immediate synergies there, but there are also big synergies in only developing the digital solutions once. So what you saw us do with really bringing the organization together, that is also around our tech hubs and making sure that the solutions that we've bought, both in Italy and Spain, are seamlessly fitting into that. And I could go on content creation, etc. But so there's a lot there, and that is quite significant part of our value creation.
Okay. How about organic growth? How do you plan to grow learning business given Europe's weak demographics and intensifying competition?
Yeah, I think on the competition side, we are in a really strong position because we are creating that scale. I do believe, and said that already for some of the markets. Some markets, if you take Spain and Italy, they are really fragmented. And I believe you need scale to really make that transition towards personalized learning, really use AI and things like that. So I think that's actually, we are in a good position to further grow there. What you also will see over the next 3 years, if you think of it from an investor point of view, there is a lot of growth supported by some of the curriculum refreshes and new curriculum that we see. So we also expect 26, 27, 28 to be real growth years if you look at it from a learning content point of view, which is of course our higher margin part of the business.
Okay, how about the demographics? They are weakening, and how do you answer to that?
Yeah, so it's quite a broad question because yes, you're right that the demographics are weakened, but it's relatively small. We're not talking big percentages, but also we see another element, which is of course some of the immigration, sometimes because of very sad circumstances. If you take the Ukrainian war and the impact that has had on education in Poland, we're talking hundreds of thousands of kids. So of course very sad circumstances, but we, together with the schools, then also deal with that. So it's a mixed picture, but overall the combination of slightly declining demographic, improving our market position and new products, that combination is growth for us.
Some of audience questions address the same theme. Birth rates have collapsed in Europe. How do smaller school classes affect Sanoma?
Well, I think that's a really good point, right? So what we see as a trend is that there are not enough teachers across Europe. Yeah. Finland is a bit of an exception, partly because of, I know people would like the system to be even better, but in a European context, it's quite good. But elsewhere, there's really shortage of teachers. So our main aim is to support the teachers that are there even more, so that they can be more efficient in their day-to-day work. And that's a real opportunity, and that's also growth opportunity for us.
Let's talk a little bit about the Solar program. It aims to lift learning's operating margin above 23% by 2026. Are you on track with this target?
Yes, we pretty much said we have all the decisions that were needed to take, we've taken them. And that's around, let's say, benefiting from the scale we have. That was some changes that we made, particularly in our organization in Poland and Spain, and there were all kind of other elements as well. We've made all the decisions. That has gone really well. You see that already reflected in the cash flow, but the way it works for our P&L, that will mainly show once we also see the increase in the curriculum that and the revenue that we expect from 26 onwards, and that's that last step to see it also in our P&L with lower depreciation and therefore also a lower cost base.
Do we have more questions from the
Yeah,
audience?
there is about the Solar program. What concrete benefits do you expect to see still within this year with this program?
So where we see the biggest impact now, and it's starting to become clear and clear, because we have changed, really benefiting from the scale, lower investments, that initially, of course, goes to the balance sheet and then depreciation. The biggest element you will see is also that further optimizing of the depreciation. So that will already start to become visible a bit this year, but mostly then again in 26.
There's 2 personal questions for you.
Please.
Okay. What keeps you excited about coming to work every day as a CEO?
Oh, that's easy. I mean, the people in our organization, both in media and learning, the passion that is for it is fantastic to work in. That is a real joy every day to be in that kind of environment.
Okay. What is Rob's favorite Sanoma product?
That's a really good question. Can I choose 2?
Yeah.
Okay. So I think for me it is, of course, Helsinki Sanomat, because increasingly with modern technology, I can now read it in English and it's really good translation. And of course, it's high quality journalism. I really enjoy the Finnish perspective, particularly on geopolitics. So that's one. And on the learning side, it's difficult to choose, but it is on that theme of more and more personalized solutions for the students. And if I then go into classrooms and see them being used and teachers being happy about that, that's really cool to see.
And one more. How does Rob see Sanoma as a company in 10 years?
Yeah, in 10 years. Yeah, a long time. I mean, we obviously will have grown very significantly again on the learning side. And I think our role in Europe will only be even more important in a less fragmented market, and we've been scaling that. And then on the media side, in 10 years' time, I think the whole digital transformation will have been largely completed. And I think that will give us a really strong position here in Finland, continued strong position.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about media's role in Sanoma. So learning already generates a majority of Sanoma's profit, but what is the strategic role of Media Finland within the group going forward?
Yeah, so media is one of our 2 key parts to the business, right? And it plays a really important role in here in Finnish society, and we are really committed to that. So the way we have organized it is such that we have a really dedicated team under the leadership of Pia Kalsta. That goes really well. They do a really great job continuously moving forward on that digital transformation, and that enables also myself to spend most of my time, of course, on the growth in learning. So the 2 of them together are really strong for us.
Right. The digital transition is more profitable, but often reduces revenue. So how do you balance between profitability and growth?
Yeah, I think I'm not focused on top line only, right? It has to be, as you say, profitable, but it also is about the role you play in media in society and the role we play with learning in the classroom, right? So that could mean some different solutions with different revenues, but overall, the way we look at it over the next 3 to 5 years, it's growth on both top line as well as profitability.
Okay, there are some news have been coming. Finland's glamping market may open in the coming years. How is Sanoma preparing, and what will be your competitive edge in this new market?
Yeah, so, of course, with the state-owned gambling player, we already play a role there, right? And we see this as a real opportunity once it opens up to, of course, do that more broadly. That's quite potentially significant, but I can't put a number on that at the moment because it will depend on how gambling is really rolled out in detail in the Finnish market. But it's definitely an opportunity, and we do think, of course, the plans are that will roll out from 27 onwards. So that's a real step up, certainly for a number of years if you look at how it went in other markets.
So about half of Media Finland's revenue is still tied to print. When will the digital overtake print?
Well, if you look at it on the subscription side, then what I highlighted earlier is there's already, of course, the most of it is to do with a combination of print and digital, right? And it's about what our readers prefer. So that, like as long as a reader prefers to have print, we will do our utmost to continue to do that for as long as possible. So that's definitely there. And I think on the advertising side, you see the digital transformation happening as well. And what I highlighted, the pure print advertising is already a very small part, less than 10%.
Do we have more questions?
Yeah, sure. Sanoma and its peer companies have to constantly compete of consumers' time, as a consumer have a wide range of media to choose from. What makes Sanoma media offering the most tempting and most worth of the consumer's time?
Yeah, I mean, that's a really good point, of course, right? So it depends on the media we have, right? So if you think about it from the high quality journalism, then it's of course being relevant in helping people to form an opinion on key things that are happening in the world. If you think more on the entertainment side, yeah, it is the things that people like to see, like to watch. And the teams we have are very dedicated and high quality to make that happen, both in our, let's say, print media online, Ilta Sanomat as well, but also on TV and radio.
Yeah. How about when is learning going to be spun off into a standalone company? Can you answer that?
Well, as I highlight, so no plans for that. Let's be very clear, because we think the combination works well, and we just continue. But of course, we continue to run it as two separate businesses. So that's not a thing it's already a separate entity in that way, right?
Yeah, and we'll see what happens. And about the competition, again, competition against global players remain intense. How does Sanoma differ from competitors in international markets? You mentioned high barriers, quality, and things like that. Is that it? Or?
It's an important part. So if you look at the learning side, the big international players, whether you talk let's say Google or Amazon or Microsoft, there it's more about partnership, because of course they have things to add that can make our solution better, like you saw with the speech coach. It's effectively one of those partnerships, and that's good, and there's no problem with that. On the media side, of course, yeah, it is really that focus on having an edge compared to them on the local market, both content-wise as well as reach towards our advertisers. And that's a big fight, that's fair enough, but I think we're well positioned.
All right. Yep.
Let's talk a little of your Sanoma's financial situation. How do you balance the use of capital between acquisitions, debt reduction, and dividends? And what were the key lessons from the 2023 dividend cut?
Well, that was painful, of course, let's just acknowledge that. And that's also why I highlighted again, we are really focused on that increasing dividend, 40 to 60% of our cash flow. For that, you need to focus, like we have done, I think, over the last few years, and continue to do, on improving the profitability further, increasing the cash flow, and then as a result of that, those financial metrics will follow, and that also enables the dividend to be at that level I just mentioned. So we're very focused on that, and will continue to be so.
Yeah, I think we are done here. Thank you very much for the interview.
Yeah, we're running out of time. There's very, very interesting topics here. Thank you, Rob.